All right, today we're going to dive into a really surprising idea about age, and it comes to us from Germany. It's a fascinating concept that kind of flips the script on how we think about our own little communities versus the big, wide society we live in. Let's get right into it. So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Think about your crew. You know, your family, your closest friends, the people you work with. Do the values you all share actually match what you see going on in society at large? Keep that question in your back pocket because it's the absolute key to unlocking a really interesting paradox.
Okay, so this whole thing kicks off with a statistic from a German study, and it's a number that honestly seems to fly in the face of what we'd normally assume about how society works.
So here it is, positive 0.4129. Now, I know it's just a number, right? But this little number is the absolute heart of the puzzle. For anyone who's into stats, you know that a number this high means a really strong positive correlation. It's basically a giant flashing sign pointing to a powerful link between someone's core values and how they see the world. Okay, so what in the world does that actually mean in plain English? Well, it means this. The more someone is rooted in their traditional, tight-knit community, the less they believe their day-to-day life actually mirrors society as a whole. Yeah, you heard that right. It's totally counterintuitive. And to figure out why, we need to dig into a really cool concept that helps explain this kind of disconnect. So to get our heads around this, we're going to borrow an idea from a model of human development called spiral dynamics. And we're going to zoom in on what it calls the purple worldview, which is a value system that's all about the tribe. So if you're looking at the world through this purple lens, everything is understood through your immediate circle. I mean, everything. Truth isn't some big, abstract, universal thing. No, truth is local. It's what's right here. Safety, who you are, your identity, all of that is found right there in your family, your clan, your neighborhood. It's all wrapped up in those time-honored traditions that everyone shares. I mean, think about it for a second. If your whole sense of truth and justice is based on your tribe's customs and your ancestors' ways give you all the order and meaning you need, well, of course you're going to be a little skeptical of these big, abstract ideas about society coming from outsiders, right? Why would you trust some vague theory when your real lived experience is staring you right in the face? And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. Let's get down to brass tacks and see how this worldview actually shows up in real, tangible ways in German culture. This is where it gets really interesting. Okay, so let's start with the German family. Respect for elders. They call it respect. It's not just a nice idea. It's often woven right into the fabric of daily life. Kids might address their grandparents with the formal Sie instead of the casual Du. You've got the Sonntagstisch, the Sunday family table, which is so much more than just a meal. It's a ritual, right? It's where wisdom gets passed down, where age literally equals authority. So if you grow up in that world, the whole idea of societal ageism might just sound completely bizarre. And you see this same pattern in Germany's famous Mittelstand, those small and medium-sized family-owned businesses that are the backbone of their economy. Here, leadership isn't about some flashy, charismatic CEO. It's about continuity. It's about loyalty. Managers who have been there for decades are seen as huge assets because trust is something you earn over a long, long time. In this world, experience is currency, not a liability. And then there's the Verein. This is Germany's incredible network of local clubs for anything: sports, music, gardening, you name it. And inside these clubs, respect has nothing to do with your age demographic on some chart. It's all about what you contribute, how committed you are to the group's rules and traditions. You see? For someone deep in this worldview, the club is society. All that other noise from the outside, it just doesn't really link. So, okay, this all paints a really compelling and honestly pretty positive picture, right? These tight-knit communities where age is honored, experience is valued. But, and this is a big but, is that the whole story? Is what happens inside the tribe the only reality that matters? And that question brings us to the other side of the coin, the systemic view. This is where we have to pull the camera back, zoom out from the personal, and look at the bigger patterns that show up across society as a whole. This right here perfectly captures the core tension we're talking about. It's totally possible for two very different, even contradictory, truths to exist at the exact same time. So on one hand, you have this tribal reality we've been talking about, where elders are honored at the family table and loyalty is rewarded in the family business. But then, at the same time, in the broader systemic reality, you see well-documented issues like hiring practices that favor younger workers, corporate pressure for early retirement, and even discrimination in things like housing and healthcare. And this is the absolute key insight of this whole thing. These two realities aren't fighting each other. They're not mutually exclusive. Both can be true at the same time. A person can experience real, genuine respect and value within their community, even while these big, impersonal systems are running on a totally different logic, a logic that can sometimes be really discriminatory.
So, the big question is, how do we make sense of this? How do we reconcile these two truths that seem so different but exist in the very same society? This is where we tie it all together.
Well, this disconnect seems to happen for a few main reasons. First, you've got these perception boundaries. For someone with that purple worldview, the tribe is what's real. All that abstract data about society, it's just noise. Second, these strong communities can literally act like a protective bubble, shielding people from some of the harsher realities of the outside world. And finally, the worldview itself might not even have the right mental tools, the right concepts, to tell the difference between a personal insult and a big, impersonal, systemic bias. And all of this leads us to what I think is the most important takeaway from this entire analysis. A person's lived experience is always, always valid. What you see and feel in your own community is 100% real. But it might also be incomplete. And to truly get our arms around a complex issue like ageism, we need both. We need the personal stories from the ground, and we need the data, the systemic analysis from 30,000 feet. So I'll leave you with this final question to chew on. Can genuine, heartfelt respect at home coexist with cold, systemic bias out in the wider world? And if the answer is yes, what does that really mean for how we even begin to build a better, more fair society for everyone?